All right, good afternoon, everybody. Let's go ahead and get started. This is the Kennedale City Council regular meeting. Today's date is March 18th, and March 18th, 2025, 5:30 p.m., even though the clock up here is saying 4:30. We'll see if we can get that fixed. And we are at City Council Chambers, 405 Municipal Drive, Kennedale, Texas, 76060. Madam Secretary, can I get a roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Mayor Pro Tem Michaels.
Here.
Place 1 Glover.
Present.
Place 2 Kobeck.
Present.
Place 4 Gary.
Here.
Place 5 Navarez.
Here.
Mr. Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. At this time, we're going to do our invocation and pledges, and I'm going to ask Councilman Navarez to lead us in our invocation, Councilman Michaels to lead us in our pledges. If you'll please stand. All right, so at this time, we are going to do our public comment section, and the Kennedale City Council welcomes comments from the public. Those wanting to speak must sign in prior to the start of the meeting. Speakers may speak on any topic, whether on the agenda or not. The Kennedale City Council cannot act upon, discuss issues raised, or make any decisions at this time. Speakers under citizens' comments shall observe a 3-minute time limit, and inquiries regarding matters not listed on this agenda may be referred to staff for research and/or possible future action by the board. Madam Secretary, do we have anybody signed up to speak? And if you want to sign up to speak, you can do so at this time.
Yes, sir, we do. Our first one is Sarah Johnson.
Hello? Okay. Hi, my name is Sarah Johnson. I'm a senior, new senior outreach Kennedale director, and I'm also the church go-to person after the pastor at First Bible Baptist Church of Kennedale, and I live at 221 Village Street. I put 5 things on there, but I'm only going to limit to 2. The things I want to talk about is to thank the Mayor Pro Tem for attending the new senior outreach at Thrive Coffee, the bingo for the seniors. We had a great turnout, and I want to do more community in the community, not just for the outreach and the senior center. And also, I want to show appreciation to the place 1, 3, and 5 councilmen for always being supportive and always being available for questions. And you have my support. Y'all have a great day.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, anybody else?
Yes, Janine Fuller.
Well, I want to thank y'all for having your special meeting last Saturday on video. And I wrote down all kinds of things about it. So I appreciate knowing what's going on. I haven't been to a meeting in years. One thought, and I know y'all were in a special session and everything was set around here, and I was hoping that I would be able to lay the phone and listen and go about my business, but I couldn't. I had to hold the phone up to my ear because once you move away from your microphone, or if you were swiveling, I couldn't hear you. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bobby Goff.
My name is Bobby Goff. I live on Daleview Drive. One of the things I want to talk about, it seems like there's a ton of misinformation about the little school bridge extension, who voted for what and when. We know that the current, whatever's out here, the $6 million or whatever it is, that didn't work. Bridge isn't long enough. It's going to take 20 to 60 million or whatever to fix it. It's one thing to be for it, and I'm all for it. We got to figure out how to pay for it. And I haven't heard one word from anybody, whether it's a $2 million bridge or a $20 million bridge, how we're going to pay for it. Like I said, the citizens are for it. I just want to know how it's going to be done. And I know we can talk about it in the future, but every citizen I've talked to is for it. So, see what we can't do to clear it up a little bit.
Thanks, sir.
I have no others signed up.
Does anybody else wish to speak? If you don't mind filling out a form. And just FYI, our screens aren't working, so the 3-minute clock, Ms. Taylor has, she's keeping track of it over there, so just FYI. Oh, okay. All right. So this speaker is going to speak during the public hearing coming up here shortly. So if nobody else wishes to speak during the public comment section, going once, going twice, then we're going to go ahead and move on into our presentations. And we've got several of them. So we're going to start here with the Mayoral Red Kettle Challenge Update and Appreciation by the Salvation Army, I believe. Go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council, and citizens of the City of Kennedale. It is my privilege. My name is, and my official title is Lieutenant Anna Maslenikova, and I am the officer here, the commanding officer of the Salvation Army in Arlington and Mansfield area and all the surrounding cities. And I'm honored to visit all the city councils in our area to thank the citizens, the council members, and the mayors in participating in our mayoral challenge. And if you don't know what mayoral challenge is, it's a fun competition, but it is for the good cause. It's when mayors of the surrounding cities, and actually this year, 22 mayors, I think it's 22 mayors of the DFW competed against each other. They were raising funds for the Salvation Army, but it's not just for the Salvation Army, for the communities, because all funds raised locally stays local. And it helps us to provide throughout the years to fill out the food pantries where families and individuals are coming to get the food weekly. It helps us to sustain our shelter. We have a family shelter here in Arlington where 16 families at one time can stay, and we provide case management. And actually our rating, like success rating for our shelter in our area is 96%, with an average of 60% with any other shelter, which shows that our communities are so supportive that families can leave the shelter and they can find their place, stable housing in our area, and they can sustain as well. And also we have a lot of the youth programming in our area and a lot of things going on. So I'm just so grateful for your support, and I'm here to present this certificate to Mayor Horton. The City of Kennedale raised $1,521.43 in 3 locations during the mayoral challenge of 2024. So thank you so much for supporting the good cause.
Thank you. And thank everybody who participated, including Speed, Fabcrete, and the Donut Palace down here also had a stand. All right, so next, that leads us to our 2024 Community Leader Award. And I'm going to pass the mic off to City Manager Hull to present.
Thank you, Mayor. Our Community Leader of the Year was Lori Sanders. If you want to stand up so everybody sees you and know who you are. I'm sure everyone here knows everything that you're involved in, but the city and the citizens are grateful for your contribution to us. The Rotary, the school district, the Chamber of Commerce. You've played a huge role in everything that we do. Keep Kennedale beautiful. You come out every week and I haven't got there yet. You're involved and you show up and you're participating in everything that we have. And obviously one of the things that I'm more proud of is the hometown Christmas. And you donate all your time and effort for all the events throughout the city, and we're very grateful for it. And we're honored that you were chosen for the Community Leader of the Year, and we'd love to come down and take a picture with you.
Thank y'all so much. I love Kennedale so much. I love all of y'all so much.
All right, so next, we are going to move to the oath of office issued to firefighter Cameron Smith, and Chief Peterson is going to present.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. So tonight we are here for our swearing in of a new firefighter. Started a year ago, and he has completed his probationary status where he gets tested off through a preceptorship program on the ambulance and, of course, going over all the fire operations that we do. And as you know, firefighting is one of the most honored professions, but also can be the most dangerous, and we're one of the ones that are first on the scene of these incidents that happen. It can be anything from fires to car accidents to just simple public service calls. And in that, we are a true public servant, and so we'll be swearing him in with the oath of office tonight. And I want to tell you a little bit about firefighter Cameron Smith. He grew up in Keller, Texas, attended some college at Texas Tech, and completed his paramedic certification at the School of EMS, and then went on to Fire Academy at Tarrant County College. So with all that, he then joined the Kennedale Fire Department, and he enjoys running, reading, and spending time with friends. And during this first year, again, he was tested and assessed and made it through his one-year probation, and even was awarded as Rookie of the Year for 2024. So that says a lot about him. He's excited to have started his fire career with Kennedale and looks forward to many more years of service to the citizens of Kennedale. So after we give the oath of office tonight, I'll ask his fiancée to come up and pin his badge. And I think we got quite a few in the hallways, so that everybody can come on in. So after we pin your badge, we'll sign your office. And Hannah is going to come up. Sometimes the new shirts are little. All right. Good job. So you want to do family picture up here? Or,
Yeah.
and then we'll get one with all the guys that are here. I think on duty is on duty out there? Lieutenant Blitz? They're still on a fire call. So. And then do you want your shift that's here? The picture? All right. Welcome aboard. Glad to have you.
Now we're going to move to the oath of office issued to Police Officer Alejandro Cosme, and Chief Holguin is going to present.
I'll make them stand up here with me while I try to embarrass them a little bit. It's my honor to present Alejandro Cosme. Quick bio about him. He was born and raised in the Rio Grande Valley, joined the United States Army after graduating high school. In his 24 years of military service, Officer Cosme has been deployed on multiple occasions. Deployments include Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan after the attacks in 9/11, Operation Iraqi Freedom, Operation Spartan Shield in Southwest Asia, and Operation Inherent Resolve in Iraq and Syria. He is currently a Staff Sergeant in the U.S. Army Reserve. His military commendations include Meritorious Service Medal, the Army Commendation Medal 4 times, and the Army Achievement Medal 3 times. In addition to his desire to serve his country in the military, Officer Cosme wanted to serve at home as a police officer. He is a graduate of the Cedar Valley College Law Enforcement Academy and has served as a police officer with the City of Dallas Marshal's Office for 8 years prior to being hired by the Kennedale Police Department. Officer Cosme is already a Master Peace Officer and a certified field training officer. Officer Cosme has 6 children. In his spare time, he spends time obviously with his children and enjoys cooking, traveling, and coaching his children's extracurricular activities. He decided he wanted to be a part of the Kennedale Police Department because of the many training and leadership opportunities that the department has to offer. Oh, and one day he wants to be a police chief. Be careful what you ask for. So, we're going to do the International Chiefs of Police Oath of Office, or Oath of Honor, and we'll do our best not to completely slaughter this. So if you could raise your right hand for me, please, sir. On my honor,
On my honor,
I will never betray my integrity,
I will never betray my integrity,
my character,
my character,
or the public trust.
or the public trust.
I will treat all individuals
I will treat all individuals
with dignity and respect
with dignity and respect,
and ensure that my actions are dedicated
and ensure that my actions are dedicated
to ensuring the safety of my community
to ensure the safety of my community
and the preservation of human life.
and the preservation of human life.
I will always have the courage to hold myself
I will have the courage to hold myself
and others accountable for our actions.
and others accountable for our actions.
I will always maintain the highest ethical standards
I will maintain the highest
ethical standards
standards,
and uphold the values of my community
hold the values of the community
and the agency I serve.
and the agency I serve.
Congratulations. Welcome to the team.
All right, so moving on, we've got items F and G. We're going to move ahead to our public hearing right now, and then we'll come back to that. We'll come back to our reports and announcements. So having said that, we're going to go ahead and move to our public hearing. And the time is 5:53 p.m., and we're going to conduct a public hearing and consider a proposed zoning change, PZ case 25-01 from OT4, which is Old Town Subdistrict 4 to a planned development for 409 West Kennedale Parkway, Block 2, Lot 4A, 413 West Kennedale Parkway, Block 2, Lot 4B, and 429 West Kennedale Parkway, Block 2, Lot 5R1R of the Woodley Acres edition of the City of Kennedale, Tarrant County, Texas 76060. And the public hearing is open at 5:53 p.m. Madam Secretary, do we have anybody that wishes to speak?
I do not have any signed up, but I believe I do have one in the audience. Will you come forward, please?
And if anybody does want to speak, go ahead and, if you don't mind, go ahead and fill out a form now.
My name's Melissa Ward. I live at 700 Woodley Lane, Kennedale, Texas. I've lived out here just about all my life. Grew up here. I moved on Woodley Acres 35 years ago. The camper place has been in my backyard for 35 years. Quiet, clean. My husband and I are retired. We like to sit in our backyard and just take it easy. But if the garbage trucks are going to be in the backyard, the smell, the noise, it just displeases me. So I hope you're taking that in consideration. Looking out in your backyard, would you want to see that in your backyard? Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you, ma'am. Do we have anybody else wishing to speak? No. All right, going once, going twice. All right, so it is 5:56 p.m. and we are going to now close the public hearing. All right, so now we're going to consider taking action to a proposed zoning change, PZ case 25-01, from OT4, Old Town Subdistrict 4, to a PD plan development for 409 West Kennedale Parkway, Block 2, Lot 4A, 413 West Kennedale Parkway, Block 2, Lot 4B, and 429 West Kennedale Parkway, Block 2, Lot 5R1R of the Woodley Acres edition of the City of Kennedale, Tarrant County, Texas 76060. So open the floor for discussion. I'm sorry. Staff report first. My bad.
Evening, Mayor and Council. Pleasure to be with you again here tonight. At this time, I'd like to bring up the applicant. They've prepared a presentation for you all, and then afterward, I'll summarize and present my staff report, if that's okay.
All right. Thank you, Mayor and Council. My name is Sky Thibodeau. I'm with Mission Ridge Consultants, working with the applicant and client Greenmark Waste Solutions on this PZ number 25-01. So the purpose of this plan development that we've requested, I'll just read this to you. It's pretty straightforward, is to establish specific land use regulations for Greenmark Waste Solutions headquarters, to allow adaptive reuse of the former Kennedale campers site as a corporate headquarters, and fleet storage for the facility. I'll get in more of what the fleet storage entails. Enhance the site aesthetics with upgraded fencing, landscaping, and facade improvements, ensuring that no waste processing or dumping happens on the site. Any kind of outside storage is just for the fleet vehicles themselves. When they're done doing their activities during the day, they come back to the site just to be parked. So, and then obviously to have a minimized environmental and community impact, and to support the economic vitality of the City of Kennedale as well. So within this PD, we have to request the permitted uses of general office and services, construction and building services to conform ourselves to the underlying zoning district of OT4. Essentially, the activity that the Greenmark would be looking to do is utilize the existing office that you see there. You can see the white roof. So utilize those for their admin headquarters type activities, and use the outdoor storage area for the fleet storage as well. So a little bit about the company, the cool thing about this job, you kind of learn what people do and how they get into, go about what they do. And so it was pretty interesting to find out a lot of folks in this business, they go and they buy an existing company and the existing equipment with the existing technology, and they use what they have, the location that they're at. Actually, Greenmark is a little bit different. They're looking to revamp everything, buy all new equipment, state-of-the-art technology as well. It's a family-owned company. They just started up themselves. Of course, many in the family have been in the business for some time now. They're wanting to start up a brand new everything, basically. Currently, Greenmark has 12 employees. They're hiring several additional positions, and they're desiring to make Kennedale the focal point of the company's DFW operation. So of course, they have both the short-term and long-term vision for the site. The short-term, we're talking about immediate actions once they start getting into the site, is to establish the site as their corporate headquarters, update the interior finishes for office and staff and the drivers as well, continue recruiting and training new staff, and utilize the site for container storage while making site improvements as well. The long-term vision, to continue to grow at the Kennedale headquarters site, establish Greenmark's presence in the community, of course, add 2 satellite offices, one in North Fort Worth and one in North Dallas, to kind of triangulate the Metroplex with their services as well, and of course make Kennedale a focal point of their DFW operations. So there's a strategy to this site. I'm sure many of you know, but if you're not, there's 2 landfills to our west, the Southeast landfill and the Fort Worth landfill. You could see it's pointing to the headquarters location, 429 West Kennedale along 287. Really, Dick Price will be the main road to be utilized. We talked about this a little bit at P&Z. You know, what does traffic look like? When are the trucks going to come in? How many trucks are there going to be? Well, at the beginning, there's not going to be very many trucks at all, and I think up to around 50 at this location at final long-term vision build-out with 50 to 75 employees as well on site. But anyway, the trucks actually, they operate outside of normal business hours, so they're not really part of the mix-up. I know 287, having lived in this Metroplex in this area for some time, I know 287 kind of gets a little backed up, and we know it'll continue to be the case until the stuff along 20 is done. But the trucks will, again, they'll be accessing mainly Dick Price Road. They're going to be taking left-ins, right-outs, so they'll be really off at 287. A lot of the time they're in action, actually. So the PD calls for location and siting standards, that outdoor storage areas must be screened from West Kennedale Parkway. I have a concept piece I'm about to bring up for you guys so you can see what that looks like. Masonry screening fence to replace the existing chain link fence. I just drove by. It looked like it caught a lot of damage during the storm a couple weeks ago, about a week and a half ago, so that will be replaced with a masonry screening fence. Buffer zones and enhanced landscaping along residential boundaries. I'll get into this a little bit more as we go along, but we want to make sure we're respecting our residential neighbors. Landscaping along Kennedale Parkway reflective of conceptual renderings I'm about to show you. And then the existing office structure being permitted in its current location. The OT4 district is a form-based district, as many of you know. So basically what this is saying in the PD is that the existing office gets to stay in its existing location. If you were to rebuild or completely redo the site, you would have to build a building right up to the property line, essentially, for the OT4 standards. Of course, that's what we're going to be planning on for any future kind of development that they'd be looking to do. Here is a site of the conceptual drawing. Hopefully you guys can see in this. I thought it was really cool. In looking at the site, getting to know Greenmark a little bit, we started digging through the comp plan and the zoning ordinance, and we saw the OT4 and the Old Town sort of designs that they had in your documents. And actually, I feel like they're very grounded and they actually stick to an Old Town kind of design. You see some funny stuff around the Metroplex for their design standards that I'm not sure where it comes from or what heritage it's sticking to, but you can obviously see a very intentful type vision for Kennedale. So where the chain link fence is on the right, currently that'd be fully replaced, as you can see, by a masonry fence. Again, that's an 8-foot masonry fence with a gate that you cannot see through, so that there would be no opacity there. And then redoing the existing offices to look more like the desired OT4 design, as you guys can see throughout your various documents. And of course, we'd be enhancing the landscaping, as you can see, along Kennedale Parkway as well. So the PD calls for design and construction standards, certain ones. So the office facade must complement the Old Town district character. Again, we feel like that's doing just that. The outdoor storage screen with at least an 8-foot masonry solid screening fence. Lighting directed downward to prevent spillover. There's some existing lighting on the property. They were obviously installed at a time that, certain lighting standards were in place. So we understand they're pretty high up. So what we're going to do is shield those and make sure they're directed to the ground so we don't have any kind of negative externalities for the residential neighbors. So if there's already an issue there, that issue will go away with those lights. The PD also implements parking standards by allowing a maximum of 31 parking spaces and essentially allowing parking to be located where it is currently located right now along Kennedale Parkway in between the barbed wire fence and the right-of-way. All right, so the PD also calls for operational standards. So this is where we want to respect our residential neighbors. We established a 50-foot buffer from the residences, and we have 4 residences that back up to the property line on the north side. So any activity is very limited within 50 foot of the residential buffer. Again, we'll be also installing trees, evergreen trees that do a very good job mitigating any kind of noise or anything like that. We will not be bringing anything to the site at all. So anyway, within this 50 feet, any kind of idling has to be at a minimum 10 to 20 minutes maximum. Nothing can be stored there that is anything other than a fleet vehicle. And again, that cannot be turned on. They must be positioned on the site that you can't hear them when they back up. So the backup beeper will not be going on while they're in operation. And then any kind of maintenance is limited to routine tasks and be done within an enclosed structure. Oil changes, tire replacement, minor dent repair, things that you would expect on a typical fleet vehicle. And of course, compliance and enforcement. We would just want to make sure that language that we would have to adhere to by TCEQ or the City Code Enforcement Office that we would of course have to adhere to, like I said, gets written into the PD just for that extra bit. All right, so the potential future development, looking at 409 and 413 Kennedale Parkway, that would actually follow just the OT4 standards. We would like that building in the future, more office, more admin, to be utilized as kind of a screening device to the activity in the rear. Of course, the site is very deep and narrow, so what we're going to do with the site basically is just more of the same, basically storing more fleet vehicles as the company grows. And then obviously building more offices to meet the OT4 standards, getting that building more up to the form-based kind of design as the city looks like it wants to see along Kennedale Parkway. And then again, outdoor storage just naturally being screened by the office buildings. And if there's any site views or anything like that, then wing walls and additional gates or things like that would come into play to screen anything in the rear. All right, land use compatibility. So we talked about this at P&Z. We really appreciate the dynamic we've had with staff. You go into cities and they have kind of these ideas about what's going on with the piece of property that's obviously going to sit there for some time. We don't want this to be the case at this location. We talked about what we know the campers are going away. What does the city see that can go there? We talked about vehicle sales, car sales, some kind of sales of some kind of vehicles. what do we utilize the concrete for, outside storage, so uses like that. So we actually found ourselves to be a pretty compatible use with what's going on right there right now, sans the retail component, basically bringing a headquarters to the town and utilizing what's already there in addition to it. So, and of course, enhancing the site as well to follow the desires of the town and what they want to see along the boulevard. All right, and the comp plan consistency, so this is something I saw, something we talked about with staff day one. I opened up the comp plan myself just to see what kind of speaks to this, not just this site, but the city itself. And really the economic development goal, objective one, you can see says strengthen workforce to support retail and restaurant businesses. That's what we want to do. We want to backfill this site that's going out that's already vacant right now. We want to bring more workers in. We talked about this at P&Z a little bit. It was asked about what kind of workers come in, what do we expect here? There's a desire to have more admin staff, so an HR team, that kind of stuff. So folks that come in and they actually will live here, will be in the community, get to know the local restaurants and other business owners and that kind of thing. So in wrapping up my presentation, we definitely feel the request is compatible with the existing land use, and the change would be compatible as well. The proposed rezoning aligns with the comprehensive plan and the goals and objectives within, and the future land use plan supports general commercial use, and we are recommended for approval and definitely in line with the perspectives by the P&Z Commission and staff. And that's all I have, and have any questions, I'm here to answer them. Appreciate it.
Nathan, do you want to go now, or? All right.
Okay. Mayor and council, so I just wanted to present my staff report for this particular item. Again, like Sky mentioned, that when we met early on, we reviewed our comp plan, we reviewed our future land use plan, we looked at a variety of land uses, and we've settled on that general offices and services. At a building, construction and building services, so we felt that that was an appropriate land use. The request for a planned development also seemed appropriate, given the size of the site, the acreage. We looked at existing compatibility, what was there today, or just previously vacated, versus what would go in there. The site is optimal for this site. A lot of folks look at it because it has existing service bays, so we anticipate some sort of assembly, repair activity within those service bays. Again, the lot itself is a concrete lot, so we anticipate some type of outdoor display of equipment or storage, whether it's here or in the future. So we looked at existing compatibility. We found that it was consistent with what was there previously. We looked at the future land use plan. Even though it's zoned Old Town Forward today in your comp plan and in the future land use plan, this particular site is not included in the Old Town district. It's reserved for just general commercial. So in that sense, it was consistent with the future land use plan as well. And again, another item for the plan development was to control that undeveloped parcel, which is actually technically today part of the site. There was a replat that occurred a while back that was approved through operation of law. So that little wooded area, the previous owners had plans to just turn that all into just more pavement and storage. And we didn't feel that that was just appropriate without a complementary building up front to screen any of that. So those are some of those discussions that we had. And then, like Sky mentioned, and one of the things we talked about is the economic development aspect of our comp plan, is we did lose a longtime Kennedale employer. So coming back and backfilling that with another employer, one that wants to grow in town, we felt that it met our comprehensive plan, particularly the economic development goals. So with that, we do recommend approval. I'm happy to answer any questions that council have, and the applicants welcome to. They're available here to answer any questions that you may have as well. So thank you.
Now we'll open the floor for discussion, questions.
Nathan, I have a question for you. Don't sit down yet. So over the weekend, I had several residents in that area who contacted me, And one of the things that kept coming up was drainage issues. I know I can remember years ago when the residential area behind there and that property were all pretty level up to the highway, the parkway. And then when Kennedale Campers went in, I know it was built up. So they said that there were already drainage issues. Was that a conversation that ever occurred?
Well, when we looked at our GIS map early on, there's an existing creek that's back there, so there is some floodplain that's back there. I'm familiar with the drainage that's back there in the sense that the previous applicant attempted to obtain a building permit for that pavement, but they didn't have the right engineering. They didn't meet those engineering standards, so it got kicked back. And so any future development, particularly on the undeveloped section, will need to go through a thorough engineering review. But the existing site is developed already, so how it drains today is how it will continue to drain. Any of the additional equipment or anything on there shouldn't affect drainage or negatively affect drainage, given that we don't anticipate any new rooftops or new pavement in the immediate future. Future development, there'll need to be some probably some site detention that'll need to be installed to accommodate the flow of the additional pavement and rooftop.
And going from a chain link fence to, I believe it was a solid masonry fence, is that going to have any impact on drainage issues?
Well, from what I understand, the masonry will be on the areas outside of the flood areas. Right now, you have chain link, but if you install some landscape buffers, things of that nature, that will help absorb a lot of the runoff. And so that's something that's perfectly fine in those particular areas. The chain link itself along the west side, I don't believe there's any plans to, they're going to update that. If they update that, it'll need to be, allow the flow of water to continue to go and drain as it is today.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions, discussion items?
Nathan, I had a couple of questions for you. Is there any buffer between land uses? Because we have residential and then we have now this commercials, but there's not a setback, but there's no buffer between the two, right?
There are buffers in this plan development for activity, which is unique because in the plan development, there's operational buffers. Typically in development, you'll have a landscape buffer. Now here, there isn't a landscape buffer because there's not one that's existing. There are some screening requirements when you're commercial and you're adjacent to residential. There's buffers that are required, but I anticipate they'll be accommodating to any additional buffers that may be needed or requested.
Okay, and then regarding the slope of the ground there, the pavement now goes back towards the creek. It's not coming up the parkway, right?
That's correct. So nothing that they'll be doing or propose to do outside of the future development will negatively impact drainage in that area. Because before it was just a lot that sloped to the back with heavy equipment, RVs. What they propose putting there is equivalent to that.
Okay. And I just have two questions for the applicant, and you can probably just holler out the answer from there if you want to. What time do y'all start in the morning, 3 a.m.? Or what time would the operation start? So all the trucks, they're all showing up, they're starting them up, and this is at 3 o'clock in the morning?
Do you mind coming up to the mic so it can be, I'm sorry.
I thought it'd be a quick answer, but we're gonna just holler it and we could repeat it, but that's.
Hey, my name's Clayton Huddleston. I work for AIC Holdings, which is the parent company of Greenmark Waste Solutions. Yeah, operations start early in the morning between 3 and 5.
Yeah, so I'm just thinking about if I'm a neighbor to that location, 3 o'clock in the morning, how many garbage trucks are starting up?
Well, I would say primarily the initial use is going to be, so we have kind of 3 segments of business: construction roll-off, porta potty storage on site, and then municipal solid waste. So primary first use would be that container storage. And so you see these 20-yard roll-off dumpsters, and so those would kind of be parked there. So those go out different schedule. They don't have to go out 3 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock in the morning. That's primarily the waste, the municipal waste, which wouldn't be an initial. There's a build up to that, scaling up to that use.
Okay. And I think my last question for the applicant was, a comment was made that y'all would be turning left in and right out, but I think if you're doing most of your activity on Dick Price Road, you're actually, when you're leaving the location, you would be turning left onto the parkway, so crossing traffic, and then when you're coming back, you would be turning right in the location. I'm only thinking about wide turns.
Yeah. So, good question. So generally in the morning, yes, it's a left out. But as you said, operations start very early. So left out onto the parkway at 4 o'clock in the morning. It's minimal impact. On the way back, the trucks would dump at the site, Dick Price. They go back out Dick Price, down Kennedale Parkway, and take a right in.
Yeah. That's all for me. Thank you.
No problem.
So your fleet is 50 trucks, and then what is this storage container? What are those?
Yeah, just, you'd see just a 20-yard metal, just like you'd see at a construction site. And so, and again, I want to reiterate, there's no waste on site, there's no waste processing on site, it's storage of these items. So if you've got a residential or a commercial construction activity happening, we would drop a trailer or drop a storage waste container there at their site, an open top dumpster. And then, whenever that time is that they need that picked up, that open top dumpster would be taken to the dump, and then it would be emptied at the dump, and then it would come back to the site and be stored on site.
And then what is this about the porta potties?
So same thing, we have a segment of our business that's porta potties. So if there's a concert or an event or a venue, I'm sure you guys, do city events, you have porta potties that you guys contract. There'd be porta potties dropped off at the venue, and then they would be taken off-site, not at our site, for cleaning, and then they would come back to our site for storage on our site. So it's a...
And where do you typically take them to be cleaned? Is it close? Is it far away?
I'll have to follow up with you on that. I don't want to tell you a lie there, but it depends on, how there's several different areas. It depends on kind of proximity and different things like that.
So is it generally proximity to where you're storing them, or is it generally proximity to where they're being used?
I'll have to follow up with you there.
No
I don't want to
problem.
make up something and,
I understand.
yeah.
So I know that I saw during the presentation, there are some plans, assuming this is approved, there are plans for expansion. Does that expansion at any point in time include those porta potties being cleaned on site at the site?
That's not the plan, no.
Okay. Thank you.
Further questions, comments?
Mr. Mayor, I just have one quick one for the applicant. Obviously, Kennedale Campers, that land is beautiful. It's right, but it's right in the middle of our town. Have you considered other parts of town, like the industrial district, or even 801 West Kennedale Parkway on that side of town?
Yeah, we've considered other areas. It's, as you said, it's a prime location. We think it's a prime location too, in terms of proximity to the landfill. So it's a good location for the use. It was currently existing as outdoor storage in effect with the campers on site, and we don't plan to change that primary use, which is just outdoor storage of fleet vehicles. So,
thank you.
Further questions?
I've been reached out by some people that live on Woodley, and one of their main concerns is drainage, because when they built that property, they actually built it too high. So when we get heavy rains, their backyards flood. Now, we're dealing with garbage, and I'm looking at the creek behind it. So are they diesel trucks? There's hydraulic fluid, right?
yes.
And whatever's left over in the truck itself. So where is that all going to flow? It's going to flow into that creek behind it. Is there going to be any type of containment? Or, you said you're going to be doing fleet services and stuff like that. What about spills? Because that creek actually goes to Village Creek, which goes into Lake Arlington. And especially with the people that live behind it, And to the west of it, you know, you're saying your trucks are going to be running at 3 in the morning. You know, you got a 50-foot buffer. I don't think a 50-foot buffer is enough because those trucks are loud. And I don't want to sit there and take away the quality of life of these people that have to live there and establish their home, and a business come in that's not going to care. You know, you're looking at the bottom end, but how much money you can make. And I'm looking at the bottom end of these people have to live here. And another thing that I'm concerned of is smell. I mean, what are these trucks, you know, we know what a garbage can smells like after it sits out in the sun, you know, 100-degree temperatures. What are these trucks going to start smelling like with the south wind? I mean, and where do you clean your trucks? Do you take them off site and clean them? Do you clean them when you dump them every time? I mean, that's the questions that I have because I want to protect our waterway.
Yeah, yes, sir. Thank you for the question. So let me take that in 3 parts because I understood it to be 3 parts. So drainage first, and then I got noise, and then cleaning of the trucks. So as it relates to drainage, I mean, I think that might be the easiest question. I mean, we have to comply with TECQ. I mean, we have pretty stringent standards as to operations. TECQ is pretty stringent standards. It's not like we're going to be dumping anything into that creek. It's you know, we've got compliance efforts there, and that'll be monitored at the state level. So that's that one. And then noise, you know, so we've worked thoughtfully with Nathan and try to figure out how we would lay out the site, and that includes that 50-foot buffer. It also includes kind of evergreen trees against the residential area to the north. And so we have some buffers there. It also includes a time limit on idling. It also includes that buffer of how far away from, you know, the homes can you be while you're in operations. And then it includes, if I'm not mistaken, Nathan, there was a provision about backup alarms. So we have to store the trucks in such a way that we minimize backup alarms as well. So those are the things I'd say about noise. And then as it relates to cleaning, we would be looking to install a wash bay on site. We would look to add a grease trap, oil water separator in compliance with TCEQ, in compliance with the city and the permit process. And that would be go into the city sewer main. And so washing would be on site, they'd be cleaned on site. Any debris buildup would be trapped in that grease trap or that oil water separator. That would be emptied out on a regular basis and maintained on a regular basis. And then would use the city's sanitation sewer for the runoff of the waste or of the wash bay water.
You are referring to TECQ standards. How often are you inspected?
I'll have to follow up with you on that one as well.
So I just want to ask for clarifying, you do plan to rinse the trucks out on this location? And then that water would then drain into a trap, and then go into the sewer?
That's right.
Rinse them out on the, okay.
That's right. Which is not dissimilar from what's happening on the site right now, except I don't believe there's a grease trap on site right now. The gray water from the RVs looks like it's dumping into the city sewer water, and they have ports that they've just dumped the RV water into. So
Yeah, but RVs versus trash, I would say that's a little bit different. I guess, so we've all been in our house on Saturday morning or whenever the trash pickup is, and we hear the trash truck 3 houses down, suddenly remember, I've got to put the cans out. And you're inside, and you can hear that one truck coming down the street. If the whole fleet is firing up at 3 a.m., that's a lot of noise. And just as the macro, just for the council to think about, we've got Frontier in town now. This would be the second trash company if we approve this. with the proximity to the two landfills and some of the other industrial uses we have, car lots, whatnot, would we suddenly become the go-to place for trash operations? Will the parkway be littered with, not littered, probably a bad pun. Will the parkway have a lot of trash companies operating where we just have trash trucks up and down the parkway continuously? And is that what we want the town to look like on the parkway? So that's what we have to decide.
It's a good question, and I would consider that you should weigh that with the head count that would be adding there, the bringing the company into the town, the tax base, local jobs, et cetera. Thank you.
So you said that your trucks usually are rolling out at about 3 a.m., which for those of us who are going to work about that time, it's not as quiet as you might think. What time would they be rolling in?
Back in? Before 5 o'clock
On Dick Price Road?
on, yes, 287 to Dick Price to 287 back to the Kennedale site.
Just out of curiosity, has anyone from the company looked at the traffic on Dick Price Road from about 3 something in the afternoon until almost 6?
I've driven it quite a few times myself, and I understand. But what I would say to that is, is it Navarez? As it relates to the comment about being further down Kennedale, if we were further down Kennedale, we'd be going down Kennedale Parkway all the same. So, you have several sites that are zoned by right down that way, outside storage. And so, the traffic is going to be there whether we are at this site, whether you guys approve this site, or whether, we're at a different site down Kennedale Parkway.
Any other comments, discussions, new items to the discussion?
Nathan, can I talk to you for a moment? Nathan, not to pick on you all, any means, just help me work this out in my head. I've done 2 comp plans and 2 future land use plans in the last 15 years. And the idea from the citizen input and from those involved was always that Old Town and this downtown area would be a walkability, commercial kind of thing. When I'm reading your notes, and I've read it a lot, it just seems like we're putting pieces in to make it fit kind of thing. Again, nothing against you. Just help me work this out. Do you think that this would, if you're missing the concept that this whole area, including right behind you, all the way down, just let's say for 3/4 of a mile radius, it's supposed to be walkability, shops, strong downtown area. Does this really fit? And we're labeling it a commercial, what was it? I'm sorry. Construction and building services?
That's one of the things we did look at. It is outside the limits of the future land use plan where when I look at walkability, I'm looking at it from Corrier Edwards down to Crestview initially. Anything outside of that, we start getting into more commercialized operations.
Well, it is commercial. It's commercial. It is zoned commercial right now, correct?
It's zoned, I'm sorry, Old Town 4, which is a mixed
Old Town 4,
use.
you're right. I'm sorry.
Which within that, though, you have the purpose of Old Town 3 and 4 is you're starting to have a transition from residential into some like light commercial uses, so like antique shops, retail, things of that nature. That's one of the first conversations we had is that, and then they did their homework, so they looked at the future land use plan, and this site itself is outside the limits of what we would call Old Town in the future land use plan. So that's why we're looking at it just strictly on a commercial basis, commercial operations, a commercial business, where you wouldn't necessarily have that walkability or need the walkability for that. We do have sidewalks out there up and down the parkway, but within the Old Town, the true Old Town district, as the future land use plan calls it, again, the future land use plan is saying, hey, here's the vision, here's what you got today. And in Old Town 4 is kind of I get a lot of requests in Old Town 4 because that's where we have existing service bays, facilities that are either going to be used for some sort of maintenance of some sort. So I do get a lot of requests for that. So again, that's why we looked at.
Is that the purple on the map you gave us? Exhibit B? Is that the purple area? Is that what we're calling Old Town?
There's an exhibit within the comp plan.
Oh, I see it.
I don't think
Exhibit
it's
A.
purple.
Oh, yeah, purple. That's what I'm asking. The purple
Okay.
area. Go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
But to answer the question, the walkability aspect of Old Town does not include this particular site in the future.
All right, thank you.
Nathan, before you leave, kind of to go along with what Councilman Navarez just brought up. So we have a hotel that might at some point come to Kennedale, and I would assume that along with that would be other things like restaurants. And then I know that one of our goals is to bring any of that traffic into the center of Kennedale. So I'm a little confused also about how this would fit. We want people who might be checking into that hotel and we want them to drive past this company on their way into the center of town. I'm trying to understand how that fits. And it kind of goes along with what you're saying about plugging pieces in.
Yeah, my biggest concern is that it's so close to the edge, and potentially in my lifetime, this whole area right here could be, shops. It's potential, maybe my kid's lifetime. It's just right there on the edge. I love the building. I love the idea of providing jobs. I love the idea of those people who are working to shop here. I would love this building over at 801, over by your neck of town. I think a brand-new building on that would make a difference by the bridge. I just don't see where I have an issue. It's right in our downtown area, and we've always had a bigger vision of this little area, this small pocket. We don't have much, but we have what we have, and that's my biggest concern is the edge of it. And that's just kind of where I'm at with it.
Well, but we even have some more industrial uses on the other side of town where this might be even a better fit. But even at our retreat, one of the things we discussed was beginning to try to expand exposure for the brewery and bringing in little shops and restaurants, and we're going to put them up next to a facility with trash trucks. I'm not trying to denigrate the company. I think it's wonderful to bring a company in and potentially bring in a company that can expand and bring a workforce in, but I'm just not sure the location is great, and location can mean everything.
One of the things that Nathan is obviously is tasked for is looking at our future land use, what we currently have, and obviously what is the future as we move forward. And I think that's what Nathan's trying to present to us tonight, along with the company. And that's the reason why they're looking for a planned development and not necessarily the old town, to that credit. Is that correct?
That's correct, and respectfully, I was listening to what you were saying. I was waiting if there was something that I could respond to. Was there? Did I? Perhaps I missed it, but okay. I wanted to make sure I didn't miss a question.
Okay. Anybody else?
I'll just close with this. I think that, if it was adjacent to other industrial where the neighbors wouldn't care, I'd feel fine with it. But I think just having residential right behind it, it is in the center of town, it's going to be very visible. That's where I have heartburn over this. And then also, like I said, the macro of, do we suddenly have all the car lots swapping over for trash operation trucks? I know the Kennedale doesn't pay for the maintenance of the parkway, but that much heavy equipment over, and it's just going to wear it out faster.
Understood.
Anything else? Do we have a motion? Anybody?
I'll make a motion to, would it be to not approve? Or to deny? To deny a proposed zoning change from OT4, Old Town Subdistrict 4, to a PD plan development for 409 West Kennedale Parkway, Block 2, Lot 4A, 413 West Kennedale Parkway, Block 2, Lot 4B, and 429 West Kennedale Parkway, Block 2, Lot 5R, 1R of the Woodley Acres addition of the City of Kennedale, Tarrant County, Texas 76060.
Do we have a second?
I will second it.
Any further discussion? All in favor to deny? And for the record, all opposed with the likes, for the record, all opposed. All right, Madam Secretary, the motion to deny the zoning change passes unanimously. All right, so it is 6:39 PM. Let's take a quick break and we'll get back to it. we're good. All right, it is 6:51 PM. We're going to go ahead and get started again. And since we had to move on to our public hearing, I'm going to go back to our presentations. And Chief Hogan, are you ready for Chief Peterson? Okay, Chief Peterson, all right. Have at it. Mine does.
Yeah. Okay.
For clarification for the record, this is the 2024 City of Kennedale Fire Department Annual Report.
Yes, it is. For fiscal year '24, I'm pleased and excited to give you our report for the fire department. So start off with, as always, with our mission, vision statement. And we complete that mission statement doing our job with protecting life and property for the citizens of Kennedale through public education, fire prevention, code enforcement, and of course the response to those incidents that come in. And I am proud that we have this core values of pride. Kind of like the city has the purpose, we have our pride, and that's on the trucks as well. And it's just a reminder of what we do every day, no matter what the call is, whether we're training or whatever. But professionalism, respect, integrity, dedication, and excellence. Moving on to our personnel, I just want to bring you up to speed of where we're at currently and then how 2024 has been. So currently, our fire administration has 4 personnel. And myself, the fire chief, I'm 6 months in now. I'm very proud of what's been going on. And then I've got all kinds of help now, which is wonderful. The fire captain, Joey Craddock, is our new position that was in this current budget. And so he's aboard overseeing operations. And then Hanson Pascal is our inspector investigator that came off of shift to fill that spot in prevention. And our administrative assistant is Rebecca Lee, and she started in January. So just to tell you a little bit more about how 2024 was, in fire administration, Lieutenant King was our interim fire chief at that time when Chief Brown retired. And really, he was the only one in admin that was filling all those roles and helping see that things got done. And that's why he was recognized this year as being that person and dedicated to the city and to the fire department. A little bit about our fire operations. We have 18 budgeted positions, 3 shifts. So there's 6 on each shift. There's 3 lieutenants, 3 apparatus operators, and 12 firefighter paramedics. I hope I do my numbers right, but that puts 6 per shift. And our minimum staffing for shifts is 5. So we always have 3 on the engine, always have 2 on the ambulance. The other thing, that these shifts, they work a 48-96 work schedule. So they're on for 48 hours in the station, get off, and the next shift comes on and does their 48. A little bit about our apparatus, the equipment that we have in the station. Engine 59, brush 59, and medic 59 are all first out apparatus, and that's what we staff. Today we did have a fire this afternoon that they brought the brush truck along with them. It did come in as a structure fire, but when we need that brush truck, whether it's grass fire, trash fire, whatever, if they decide to take the brush truck, they divide that crew of 3 up to bring the 2 trucks with them. But the medic is required by Texas law, by the Department of Health, that we always have 2 paramedics on there. They're licensed that way. Engine 259, medic 259, and the utility what we're calling it now, are all reserve type apparatus. So if our engine's down for preventative maintenance or the medic is out of service or whatever, we have a truck to fall into as a reserve truck and use. The Polaris is my next slide, is a piece of equipment we got through a grant. And so it's very nice to have this. It could be used at a situation where we have an injured person deep into a park somewhere where the ambulance really can't get to them. This can go off-road and help bring that patient back. But right now, the main part of this vehicle being used is at special events. So it'll serve as our first aid and able to move a person around and bring them to the ambulance wherever that special event might be. And so go back to the apparatus a little bit. We do have an ambulance being manufactured right now. Its delivery date is the end of this year, November or December. It's still being built. And this is one that we also received on a grant. So when we receive it, we will have 3 ambulances. So which is very nice. They're all new, but currently we're just staffing the one. The other thing that has been in budget that was purchased is a brush truck. And that brush truck is going to replace Brush 59, which is a 2004 model. You know, it's still working, and it only has just under 12,000 miles, but the brush truck doesn't see a lot of action. It doesn't go to every single fire. It's mainly just that brush, grass, and trash fires. But this brush truck, I'm not sure when it was ordered, but it took a little bit to get the Ford chassis for it. Once that was arrived, the people building our truck for us, this brush truck, have that chassis, but it is not in line yet to get the rest of the body built onto the truck. Talked to him last week, and the projected date to receive it is in July of this year. So I'm sure that is well into a year of waiting on this truck. But I will follow up on that and have more information as we go along. To touch on our total calls for service, and this is all calls that happen. Everything that we're dispatched on, every time there's an incident, we get a card cut or an incident number assigned. So for this fiscal year, we're down to 1,578 calls, different from last year. I didn't research deep into it enough to really tell you why the change. What I suspect is we probably had more fires or more weather-related events that can increase our calls. So it's just, I can look into that further, but I really don't have an answer why we decreased. Maybe we're just being safer and things are clicking a little bit better for everybody. Just to break that down a little bit further on the calls, we have the total calls of 1,578 incidents. 1,004 of those are EMS related or ambulance calls, and then 574 on fire. And I just want to explain a little bit why fire might be a little bit lower. Every time that there's a medical call, depending on the priority of it, if it's just a priority 3 sick person, it doesn't always get an engine going along. If it's a cardiac type call or major accident, they get the engine for that extra manpower, the extra safety of having fire apparatus with them. A car accident could have oil on the roadway, other things that need to be taken care of. Plus you can have more than one patient, so we're there to help take care of that. And so the first slide, the first part there just shows the fire calls again. But what I wanted to break down the EMS calls a little bit more on is from our 1,004 incidents, 651 of those patients were transported to the hospital. 353 were not transported. They either refused or they refused EMS transport, maybe went by private car, or they just weren't injured at all. We still got the call, but everything was okay that they didn't need to go on to the hospital. Just a breakdown of where we transport to. The number one, 319 calls or patients were transported to Mansfield Methodist Hospital. And then our next up one is in Mansfield again, Texas Health. We kind of sit halfway in between Harris and downtown Fort Worth versus Mansfield, but we also try to go, when a patient requests to go to Mansfield, we try to honor that. But depending on their condition and the status that Mansfield might be in, kind of determines whether or not we do take them to that hospital. Obviously, severe trauma will probably go to Harris or Medical City, Arlington, because of the higher level of trauma care that they can provide there. So we don't want to take someone, another good example is a pediatric patient. We're not going to take them to Mansfield Methodist if they're a pediatric because they need to go to a specialized hospital for that, and that would be Cook Children's. On our mutual aid responses, we do track that, and it's a little bit complicated, but we had it's broken down by given and received. So when you see 186 calls were given mutual aid, that's us providing mutual aid services, fire or EMS, to another city. And then the received is the ones coming into our city and helping us out. So cities that we respond to and have agreements with are Mansfield, Arlington, Forest Hill, Everman, Rendon, and then Tarrant County. And then any city, if Pantego were to call us, if we're able to provide help, we will. And the same thing, if we're in dire need of more equipment than just those cities I listed, we'll put the call out and we'll get other responses coming in. I believe Fort Worth would even come to us if we called for their assistance. But that's broken down in that way, 186 calls given, and then the received is coming into our city. Then we have the county mutual aid calls. And this is just breaking down that 186 calls, 53 of those were to the county area, the Tarrant County area. So not necessarily a city, not necessarily Rendon. There's some Tarrant County areas that we assist with. And then our response times look pretty good. And I got these numbers from our dispatch center. They track everything from the time that the call comes in, the time the clock starts ticking. Our call takers will turn around and dispatch it out. We'll receive it. And our goal is to, wherever we're at, we get in that apparatus or that ambulance with under a minute many times and start responding to the scene and then the travel time. So until we check out at the scene, and these are all the calls together with their times. So some are longer times, obviously, especially when we're going to another city, but it averages the number out. And that's how we came to 4 minutes and 39 seconds. And that's pretty good. I like seeing that kind of response time. On our training, we are starting to enhance that in our department, doing more training. And I do have an error on the slide. It's not a minimum of 144 hours for EMS. That's actually going to be 36 hours per year is the minimum that we try to get. The 144 is a total number that as a paramedic, they need to have that many hours of continuing education in certain areas to renew their paramedic certification. For the fire certification, all that the state requires us to do is a minimum of 20 hours, and those are also in special content areas. I can tell you that we do above those numbers anyways every year. And then I just listed who advanced, basically the number of personnel that advanced their certifications in certain areas with their firefighter certification. Everyone in our department, by the way, is a firefighter paramedic, which is a good thing. Fire prevention been pretty active, but in the beginning, or in 2024, especially the later half, there really wasn't anybody. Again, it was Lieutenant King being interim chief, and until Hanson came aboard into admin in August, that's when we started picking up on more activity within fire prevention. The biggest thing we do is community events, especially in October when it's Fire Prevention Week. We visit the schools, we do fire safety education there. We'll do some career days. We've done that at the high school. And we've done it at some elementary schools also, just more of a, what is a firefighter all about? I will tell you, I'm pretty happy to see, I started running the numbers with Hanson since he's been in admin and doing prevention. So far in this next fiscal year that we're currently in, he's done 263 inspections, 25 investigations, 27 plan reviews, and done 3 public safety programs. I applaud him for just being so, not so much aggressive, but just dedicated to picking up what we do as a fire department. And so when you compare that to nothing really happening in the 115 inspections, I can promise you the next year's report is really going to have some good numbers, the way he's performing, and I appreciate that. The revenue that we get, put some numbers through. Emergicon does our ambulance billing. And they also do our fire response fees. It's called Emergifire. Same company, but they divide that out. So obviously we run more ambulance calls, and that's the revenue that has come back into the city from Emergicon, $222,000. The fire response fees are calculated through our fire reports on the activity that we do on major accidents, whether hazmat was involved, extrication. There's certain criteria that is how they bill for those numbers. The county fire responses, because we have an agreement with Tarrant County, in that agreement, they pay us on an annual basis right now of $52,500, and that's paid quarterly to us. So that's money coming back into the city's budget in the general fund. And then the county ambulance responses is $27,000. Each month we turn in the ambulance calls that we run to the county area, and the Tarrant County ESD, in our agreement with them, they see what we've run and then determine, was it an ALS call, what certain actions happened with it, and they do a point system to our ambulance call, and that's how they come up with what they're paying us, and they pay us quarterly on that. But that, for that fiscal year 24, that is the total that we got from the county for running ambulance out there. This is the best part. This is just what we do for the community, all the special events that we participate in, and we may not always be there at that certain event, but we're present, but we're not always doing a first aid or showing the fire truck or whatever. It gets pretty active, especially around the Christmas holiday time. And this year was that first fireworks show, which went off very well. And for the staffing issues we've had, we had that covered with the help of Mansfield. And I can't say enough about the working relationships that we have with neighboring cities to be able to help do that when we need more protection. And in that case, it was for the fireworks show. Some of the other events, National Night Out, that was wonderful working with PD on that, and the community really came out on that, and I was very pleased with what I saw. It was different from any other National Night Outs I've seen, so I'm pretty proud of Kennedale and how that comes together. So I've never experienced Bark in the Park. Kid fish, ready to see that stuff happen. Be there for that. So I just want to touch on some upcoming goals as we get into planning for next year's budget. The one thing that is on my list and top of the list to start working on is the best practices accreditation that our police department has. I want to be able to do the same for our fire department. And that is just researching, improving our operations and our safety, and that's done through making sure our guidelines are up to date and our procedures and training, and just getting all that parts together where we can strengthen what we do as a fire department, as well as it strengthens the community confidence in what we do. We're looking at Quince, and that is a aerial apparatus, a ladder truck. So we're starting to research that so we can have some numbers put together for a plan down the road if we're needing that ladder truck, and that would replace one of our older reserve engines. And of course, I'm looking at operations and prevention staffing. As we continue to grow, I want to be sure we're covered. I want to try to address operations to where that second ambulance call that comes in, we got it covered and don't have to rely on the mutual aid all the time. And that doesn't happen that often. That's another number that I think I'll start putting together for you on the next year's report, so we know just how many times another ambulance came into our city. And instead of just giving you a number that, whatever it was, 59 times we received mutual aid. That could be fire related, but let's track how often an ambulance is happening. And then, of course, leadership training for our current officers and just any of our staff, start building up more of that officer training. We want to increase community fire service, fire safety events, and that can be looking at doing CPR, child safety seat inspections. That's one thing that a lot of people look for, and not all hospitals do that. They have their baby and they don't know really how to take care of their child seat. So we want to look at getting certified in that, one person, just to be able to help the public out there. A smoke detector program. Currently, if someone has an issue with their smoke detector, we'll check it out, but we do have some to replace it with. And we're definitely changing out batteries when they have that issue. One thing I'm pretty excited about is once we get into our new station, not only the open house at Fire Station 59, but implement a Citizens Fire Academy. And that is a hands-on activity, generally an 8 to 10 week program that they come once a week, and the citizens can sign up for it, and we'll probably have a class of 10. And they just go through the ability to experience what it's like to be a firefighter and really understand what we deal with day in, day out, our training, and actually, once we get a few weeks in, they'll be able to actually ride out with us as well on a call. But that is a great program. From that, we'll be able to also create an alumni group that will be able to have more manpower at special events. So a volunteer, you could say, but a citizen support volunteer. So I'm looking forward to being able to do that. But I do want to wait till our station is open to where we have that space to be able to train them and show them that. So the big news is your fire department is on the move. We are so close. We're not moved yet, but things are happening to where we will be in a temporary station at Southwest Ambulance. We'll be moving all our equipment over there. We have a bunkhouse trailer in place already, and they will be staying there 24 hours a day while our station is being torn down and remodeled, thanks to council and everybody's input on doing that. It is much needed. I don't know the age of that station, but it is very outdated, and the heater went out, in fact, this last cold spell. So I said, we're not putting money into that. If we can just deal with it, and they did wonderful. But that is a drawing of what that station is going to look like. I look forward to it, and I can't wait for that ribbon cutting of that station. So we should be moving out late March. It's right here on us, and definitely early April, with construction to start in May. And I will keep you updated on those changes too, because things do happen, but we're moving forward because we need to get it done. Then my last slide, just because we have had some severe weather events come through, And I don't know who all signed up, but I'm signed up, and I did get the phone calls, and of course I clicked every single one, so I even got the high wind warning. But it's good information to know, and you get that from the National Weather Service. And they're pretty ahead of the game. I think my dog knew that a storm was coming before I got the alert, but it did come before I got the storm. So I just wanted to share that just as a reminder. We don't have outdoor warning sirens. This is your next best thing. And with all the apps that we have on weather events and stuff. But this, you sign up, you select what warnings you want to be notified of, and you get the text, email, or phone call. I get all three. I just like to, nobody texts me or anything, so. So my last slide is now questions.
You're not getting off that easy. So I got one thing. I got a great email and a compliment for Inspector Pascal. Complimenting on his professionalism. One thing, and you mentioned Interim Chief King when he was Interim Chief King, and we were doing the personnel requests and the budget requests for 24. He mentioned, we were kind of missing some opportunities to get some grants because there just wasn't enough. There wasn't a captain position really to kind of help to apply for those. Is that something that maybe Captain Craddock will start to, or is already actively pursuing, just to help get more equipment for the FT?
Yeah, I think so. We're going to look for the Assistance to Firefighters grant that comes out on an annual basis, just depending on, they award grants, and then if there's money left over in that federal amount, then they issue it out again. But we do get the grants from Tarrant County.
Yep.
And of course, Firehouse Subs is another little area that we can get grants on. I'd love to follow what the police department did with the AEDs and get that on our staff vehicles and just elsewhere. And so, yeah, we're watching for grants.
Perfect. And then my last just comment would be on, while you're working on the budget in the slide for the aerial ladder truck, I would probably call out something in there around how we have hotels that want to move to town, and that's really going to kind of be a driving factor for that, because as they go up, we need to be able to go with them. So probably just include that in the deck, but thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Chief, first, I want to say how excited I am to bring back the smoke detector thing. I was just asking a month ago Daryl about this, and he mentioned it. So that was a program that I utilized 15 years ago, and I'm excited to see it come back.
Good.
Can you explain what increased operations and prevention staffing means?
As we, the operations staffing, I would like to go for the fact that we need to staff a second ambulance or an engine. The engine, of course, is going to require 3 per shift, so you're looking at 9 people. And then you have to start talking about the fact that vacation time affects that as well. But, so it'll be easier to staff an ambulance and we do more EMS calls. So just having that second ambulance staffed addresses a few things. I've always got availability of first aid for special events by using that ambulance. But when that ambulance is gone and they're transporting to Mansfield, they're gone for an hour. And sometimes the hospital is so busy that, I hate to use the term holding a wall, but that's what they do. They have to turn that patient over to the staff. And so when they're really busy, they have to wait for a bed even, and obviously unless it's a true emergency that needs attention right away, they're going to get taken care of. But it's the fact that we're gone out of our city doing a transport, and then it'll be an hour before they're maybe available or back. And so just by looking at staffing a second ambulance, we've got that backed up. Today we had a structure fire, a small structure fire with a grass fire. The entire crew of 5, the engine and the ambulance were both on that scene. It takes everybody. You could, you would have that ambulance available, possibly, just depending on the incident, but it's just increasing our staffing to be able to properly cover calls that happen. For prevention, we're doing great there, But just with getting back on the ball of doing full business inspections every year, their annual business inspections, just having that second person available as an inspector, and maybe looking towards having a fire marshal back in place. Those things that we kind of need to do as we continue to grow. So I'm not saying that definitely has to happen next year, but it's things that I'm going to be evaluating as we plan for budget.
So one of the issues, and it's probably not as big as the issue the last couple of years, it seems like, but for the last 10 years was retention. You know, we train the fire department, fire everybody, and then they go on to Mansfield or Arlington or whatever. What are you and your new captain going to do to try to kind of address that situation, or do you at least understand that that was an issue and there's a plan of attack?
Retention is difficult. It always could be a situation. I mean, sometimes they're always looking for the bigger department.
Sure.
More chances to promote within a department, or just the fact that they have other special operations like Swiftwater or high angle rescue, the specialty trainings that we don't necessarily have here. For retention of keeping people here, of course, you want to treat them right and have quality equipment, which we do, and now we're about to have a quality station. I see a lot of positives coming that retention is going to be good. Having Captain Craddock on board is going to help do that, just by having someone overseeing operations and help with either fire command or just helping on those trainings, established trainings. We're starting to do more. We've actually got a training set up with Mansfield to go to their training center and do more live fire training that we don't have that ability here. And we used to travel all the way up to Tarrant County College on the northwest side to do live fire training. By doing it in Mansfield, and even Arlington has offered to help now too. That's a plus. But we can't just send the engine crew away. We have to get staffing in there to cover the city while they're away training.
And I completely agree with your assessment on that. Can you just expand a little bit on the ladder truck, the need? Mr. Glover was talking about the future, but currently we absolutely need this right now. Could you kind of explain that to everyone?
Well, every time that we run a fire incident, whether it's structure fire for sure, Mansfield sends a truck our way. It's part of our first alarm assignment. So structure fire comes in, we need more than just that engine and the ambulance. It can't be us alone on it. For safety and for adequate fire, not response, but fire pulling lines and taking care of the fire and locating it and putting it out and protecting other structures. The ladder truck is a need as we get more buildings or apartments even, that we need to have that aerial ability to give an elevated stream. And in fact, we've had 2 school fires that a ladder truck was used on.
The last 6 months, right?
It's all about getting to the roof and getting where that fire was. And so, yeah, we can put ground ladders up, but there's something about having the aerial stream to be able to direct it from above and address that fire situation, as well as just rescue and assistance for us to get on a roof easily. So we're looking at those aerial ladders. We had one at one time. It's just a need, and so you still have your engine response available, but you'll have that ladder capability as well. And the ladder is a Quint because it has 5 functions. So it's able to pump water as well. It's not just a ladder truck. But there are 107-foot aerials that we're looking at. And unfortunately, they're quite expensive, but it's something we need to start planning for and looking at.
So what you're saying is that the need's there no matter what, even single-story house, 2-story houses?
Yeah, it could be any house. Of course, some of the homes that are way off the roadway, that'll be an issue because you do need the roadway support to put up an aerial. You can't just pull it off in a grass area or pasture to set up an aerial. Depending on the driveway, that may work as well, but when they're way off the roadway like that, that's an issue. But a bigger house that we're in front of them, 2-story house, and that's well involved with fire, the aerial stream not only will help douse that fire, knock it down, But we may need to protect the structure that's right next door, and it's very easy to do that with an aerial ladder.
So we're talking about response time, really. If we had our own truck, we wouldn't have to rely on Mansfield, which takes 5 minutes to get here.
Yeah, the good part about Mansfield is they're on our first alarm assignment, so as soon as and that's our dispatch center as well. So as soon as we're dispatched to a structure fire, they're also being dispatched.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
They're about the same response time, but they're being notified as soon as we are.
Thanks, Chief. Thanks, Mr.
Yes,
Mayor.
sir.
Anybody else?
I just got one question. Maybe it's an upcoming goal that we can do. In the future, and I don't know how quick, what, next 3 years that we're going to be capping wells behind the fire station, is there any way that we can possibly turn that into a training facility for the guys? I mean, I think a tower or maybe a burn building and maybe something the police department can use for training too. So, I mean, we're going to have land, we might as well use it for something.
I think it's always an option.
I'd love to look at that, anything near our station, and just having the space to just lay hose lines and practice doing that stuff would be beneficial. So whether or not there's a tower, but that's
I look
definitely
at the-
things that we can look at.
Citizen Academy, and it's just not fun if you're not running stairs. So,
Yeah,
you know, that's the whole thing about it, so.
yep. Well, Citizens Academy, I mean, we will do a lot of things that you've seen at the open house, extrication of a vehicle, pulling lines, fire extinguisher training, things that they'll benefit to as a citizen, and just understand public education with us.
And then on our ambulances now, I'm pretty sure you probably have them, you're rotating them out. So one ambulance is not getting all the mileage and while another one's sitting, and then we got a third one coming in. So is there a rotation cycle that you're using?
Yeah,
now?
we don't currently have a rotation cycle, but that is something I'll definitely look at, especially as we get the third one. And if it's not staffed soon, which it won't be right away, we do need to, before I increase any staffing, I need to have a new station with plenty of bunk rooms and that kind of thing. But yeah, I would rotate them. I don't want, it's not so good to just let an ambulance sit there, especially with the three, to just sit there and not see any use. All three will be licensed though with the state, so that they'll be fully stocked and ready to go. So if one should break down or we go in for maintenance, we can easily get in another.
All right, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, sir.
Yep, thank y'all.
Now I think we've got Chief Holguin for the 2024 City of Kennedale Police Department Annual Report.
Y'all don't want to take a break before I get started? Look, my boss is shaking his head. Oh, here we go. Well, good evening. Thank you for having me, Mayor and Council. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about the police department and give this year's or last year's annual report. I want to start off with our mission statement. We believe in community-oriented policing. We focus on building trust, integrity, and purpose with the intent of positively enhancing our quality of life with our citizens, business owners, and visitors. We believe in partnerships with our stakeholders, and we also believe that it will shape our priorities of our police agency. We will treat everybody with dignity and respect. We will be professional, progressive, with a commitment to excellence. We'll be personally accountable for our actions at all times, 24/7, 365. Just because you're off duty doesn't mean you're no longer a police officer, and that's the way I look at it. We will be role models in our community that we serve. Thank you for letting me be the police chief of the Kennedale Police Department. I have a vested interest in this city. I live here, and I say that all the time, and I'm proud to say it. You know, I love this city. I love my neighbors. I love my neighborhood. Everything there is to know and do about Kennedale. It's been a wonderful experience living here for the last 17 or so years. I continue to be amazed by the members of our department. We have an incredible team of officers, and we have very high standards in the police department, but we typically do meet those standards or exceed those standards, and that's the way that a police department is supposed to be. I'm very proud of our accomplishments in 2024. One of the reasons I like giving this presentation is because I like to brag about the officers doing some fantastic work on a regular and consistent basis in our community. We will continue to serve our citizens with trust, integrity, and purpose. So to start, the strength of our organization is directly tied to this management team right here. Captain Carlson has over 23 years of law enforcement experience, and everything does go through him. He has command of operations, support, and investigations of the department. Next person pictured up there is Sergeant Ryan Heath. He's got over 18 years of experience. He was recently awarded the Medal of Valor for his actions involved in a shooting that happened on September 10th of last year, where he participated in saving 2 victims while being fired upon by a suspect armed with a shotgun. Ryan is in charge of multiple special projects and the Sex Offender Registration and Compliance Program. Sergeant Robert Yarbrough has over 30 years of law enforcement experience and oversees all aspects of training and state of Texas regulatory training standards. Sergeant Tim Scott, on the end, has over 27 years of experience and oversees accreditation, firearms, oversees the background and hiring process, and he is also our quartermaster, just to add one more thing to his plate. So we also will have a future 4th sergeant. We are anticipating the promotion of, he's currently the acting sergeant, but Corporal Charles Burns within the next month. He has 13 years of law enforcement experience, and he's also one of the lead firearms instructors. Staffing has remained pretty constant. As everyone here knows, we have a staff of 25 at the police department, 21 sworn and 3 civilian support, which includes our animal control officer. Our organizational chart, it runs pretty lean. There's quite a few things that we do, but we make sure that we're being as efficient as we possibly can, and everything does run through the captain. I obviously help him with quite a few of the administrative tasks myself. But we do have support operations and investigations. Investigations also includes the auto theft task force position and our DEA task force position, including our 1 detective that we currently have right now. Since I took over the department back in 22, we have incorporated a geographic-based policing model. And this is important because what this means, and I've talked about this before at previous meetings and budget meetings, is that each of the people that you see on this picture is responsible for that piece of real estate within the city of Kennedale. This focuses their attention more so than just random patrolling. The sergeants, corporals, and officers that are assigned to each of these, what we call beats or geographic areas. There's 5 of them within the city. They're responsible for problem solving and quality of life issues. We work very closely with code enforcement and community development. The people that work in these or assigned to each one of these areas are expected to have year-round beat projects, as well as utilizing all of our other resources, including our community engagement officer, who is also being trained to be a crime prevention specialist. This works because we incorporate what's called CPTED principles. CPTED stands for Crime Prevention Through Environmental Design. It's a very complex program. Original book was actually written in 1971, and it talks about everything from property management to appearance to ways to deal with the criminal element in certain different ways outside of just a traditional police response. A year in review. So this is my favorite part. We did a lot, and we continue to do a lot. We will continue to do a lot in the future. As a lot of people know, I'm a kind of a big fan of going to Disney once a year, and unfortunately for the sergeants, I always bring back something. Sergeant Yarbrough was kind enough to pose with his personalized Mickey ears that I brought him back last year. We do a lot of work with the school district. We like to visit the schools. We like when the schools come visit us, and I'll talk about that here in a little bit also. We try to be very proactive with the school district and help them in any way we possibly can. We go on recruiting trips. All the recruiting trips that we go to, we typically still have, even though we might not have any openings, we actually have a lot of interest in people that want to come work here at the Kendall Police Department. The word in the law enforcement community is that we're doing a lot of things that attracts people to us. And so we do have actually 2 people that have applied for the one position that we have open right now. And they're both good quality individuals. So we're attracting the right people and we're bringing the right people in. We don't do a lot of recruiting, but we do go to recruiting events throughout the region. We're used to the snow and ice now. We got everything I think we need, thanks to a wonderful budget. It's helped us to acquire all the equipment that we need to patrol. This is becoming more regular year after year. On a lighter note, we did capture Kenny the Bull, who was terrorizing New Hope, jumping fences and doing bad things to cows in the area. With the help of the county, we actually got him corralled, and they were able to take Kenny. I don't know where they took him. I don't really, at this point, want to know. And the last thing on this particular slide is events. Not only do we like to go to them, of course, we host them as well. And that's one of the wonderful things about working in this community is that we have so many great community events that we can participate in also as police officers, not necessarily on duty. Very proud of the fact that we, Captain Carlson, myself, and Sergeant Andrews, who was the accreditation manager at the time, we went to receive our 4th accreditation in the state for the Texas Police Chiefs Accreditation Program, Best Practices Program. It was our 4th award, and we're one of the original agencies in the state, one of only a few that have earned the award 4 times. And if there's any question as to what this represents, this means that we meet 173 accreditation standards, and we go through a very intense audit on site, and there's a lot of information that we have to send back and forth to the auditors to ensure that we're in compliance. This is a really big deal for us. In the state of Texas, as I've often said, there's about 2,700 law enforcement agencies. We're one of only 300 that have this accreditation. The rest of the events, solar eclipse, a lot of fun. I think everyone had a good time. This is a posed picture. We're not actually all looking at the solar eclipse together. But one of the other things we really enjoy doing is getting out in the community and engaging with Kennedale seniors. So we try to do that quite often, at least once a quarter. We go out there and give them preventative information on how not to be victimized, especially right now we have a lot of fraud going on. There's been some really terrible stories about that. So we're really trying to get out there and meet with them and other community groups as often as possible. This is a really, really strong aspect of what we do in community-based policing, and that's why we have a community engagement officer. And like I mentioned earlier, this is that picture there on the corner, visits to the PD by our school, especially this time of year. This is when I guess, the lesson plans start to kind of wind down and they all want to show up at the PD. And it's great. We love having them. We'll teach them a little class. We'll do some stranger danger. We'll do some other type of little instruction for them and do some crafts and get them involved. So that bunny right there, that's actually Officer Miranda. She bought that. That's Officer Hops from Zootopia. She bought that herself for the kids, and she's out there posing with them, and of course they had a really great time. Let's see, I got ahead of myself in my slides here. So we do a lot of training at the police department, and especially, well, across the board, everyone's important, from the line officer to the training that I receive. We have to do it. This is how we remain ahead of the curve for a lot of the things that are coming down the pipe in terms of law enforcement. It also helps us to reduce liability. The staff has really learned what that word means, because I talk about it a lot. And one of the ways that we reduce liability is ensuring that we're going to the best quality training that we possibly can. We are fortunate to live in a region where they offer a lot of this training, so we're not spending a whole lot of funds on travel and overnight stays. So in this picture, this shows that I attended the LEADER conference. Also went to the chief's training there in the corner. Captain Carlson and Sergeant Yarbrough also attended supervision courses through FBI LEDA in 2024. Captain Carlson also earned the Trilogy Award with FBI LEDA, and he is also on the waiting list to attend the Law Enforcement Management Institute of Texas Leadership Command College. It's a mouthful. We call it the LEMIT LCC, Leadership Command College. So hopefully he'll be attending that in the near future. That consists of 3 modules throughout the state. State pays for the whole thing. They pay for his room, they pay for meals and everything else. So it's a really great program, but it's an executive level program that I completed years and years and years ago. But he will be attending that. Sergeant Heath also in 2024 completed the ILEA school, which is called the Institute for Law Enforcement Administration, and this is a requirement for all sergeants in Kennedale. Lots of events, lots of stuff going on here that we participate in and/or we help host or coordinate. Now that really cool picture there in the front, that 9/11 memorial, my son is the lead rifleman in formation there. He is graduating this May with his degree in business and going to be commissioned as a second lieutenant in the National Guard. So we're not going to have that contact anymore, unfortunately, at TCU, unless my youngest son, who also got a scholarship to TCU, gets into ROTC and he decides to help us out again. If not, I'm sure we'll get a lot of help from UTA. They did a fantastic job at our last event. So it's nice having these partnerships and relationships with our local universities to help us with these events. We believe in trying to attend all these first responder events that we can. It's a great way for us to get out into the community, get our name out there, and they also get a chance to interact with officers from the entire region on the state, local, and federal side. A couple of other things I just want to point out here. We had a great time at the court coordinated a bicycle safety event this past year. It was very well attended. We had acquired several bikes that were donated to us, and we gave them out after they went through our little bike program, a little bike school we gave. So we were able to give away some free bikes to kids in our community. I think that was an excellent idea. I hope we do it again this year. And the police department does coordinate Bark in the Park, and this past year we had another excellent showing. It was so packed at the park, and many of you were there, that you couldn't find any place to park. So lots and lots of people got their pets vaccinated and registered. And we will continue to run the DEA National Take Back Program twice a year. We think this adds value to our community by giving people an opportunity to get rid of those unused or expired prescriptions, and then they're later destroyed by the DEA. Our Halloween detail continues to be very well received. We get lots and lots of compliments from parents that are out trick-or-treating with their kids. This is something that was revitalized. It was done many, many years ago. We brought it back recently, the last 2 Halloweens. And it's also a lot of fun because the kids like to interact with us, and we give them candy and take pictures with them, and they really enjoy that. So we look forward to doing that again this year, and that's going to be an ongoing program for us. Trunk or Treat is coordinated by the police department, specifically by Sylvia Castro. And so every October, she is under an extreme amount of stress trying to put this together for us, but she does another excellent job. I'm very proud of her and all her efforts, and the police department and everyone else's participation in that as well. But she'll coordinate all the people that are going to show up. She'll assign them to their trunk space and coordinates the entertainment. She does the whole 9 yards. But we've taken that program to heart at the police department, and since it's ours, we're going to try to make it as best as possible. And then last but not least, participating in Hometown Christmas. Unfortunately, in the world that we live in, we need to make sure that we have very robust security protocols and operational plans. And Hometown Christmas is a test of that for us. It's a growing opportunity for us to learn kind of the latest and greatest what's out there to help hopefully mitigate any potential problems we might have. And as we saw in some of the recent incidences on New Year's Day, New Year's Eve, it doesn't take a lot for somebody to do some really significant damage, but those are the kind of things that if you noticed what we were doing, we already had protective measures in place for that. And that's because we do a lot of study, we do a lot of research, and we try to really make sure that our operation plans are there so that we're hopefully going to be able to handle the threats that we can perceive happening. We understand Hometown Christmas will continue to get bigger and bigger, probably bigger fireworks shows and, I don't know, Santa parachuting in or something really cool. It's going to get bigger, so our operation plans will become more and more robust. But it's going to be, it's an ongoing good challenge for us and a good operation and a good mental practice for us to really push ourselves to mitigate any potential issues. And Fire Chief kind of stole a little bit of my thunder here, but no, I really appreciate the fire departments, all the departments involved. That's what really makes this successful for National Night Out. We placed better this year. We were 3rd in Texas last year and 11th in the nation. So we were 2nd in 2024 and 6th in the nation for our population. And again, this is attributed directly to our community. Our community has really embraced National Night Out. There's some cities that will have a National Night Out in a park and kind of have one centralized big one, and those are great too. I mean, it's better than not having a National Night Out event. But the traditional intent, and I'm an old crime prevention guy. I was a crime prevention officer way back in the day in Arlington, and the intent of the National Night Out was to engage the neighborhoods on their blocks, in their neighborhoods, on their streets. And we're going to continue with that model here. I think that our HOAs and our neighborhoods really enjoy doing it that way. It's a good thing when it's difficult for all of us to get to each one of the National Night Out parties, but it still shows how much participation we have. So we're continuously going to market that here in the near future, and we're going to keep pushing for that same model and hopefully have even more community events this coming year. So we're very proud to have earned our 2nd National Night Out award. Again, great community involvement and also incredible involvement by all the departments and all the employees of the city of Kennedale that were out and about, including all our elected officials. People love to see that. They love to interact with you. So in additional accomplishments, we have another internship program established with Texas Christian University. I think everyone knows here I'm a Frog, so go Frogs. I know our football team didn't do so well last year, but anyway, we still enjoy having another university on board coming to us to fulfill internship program requirements. That speaks a lot to us. I mean, we're a small agency, but we have the trust of large institutions. Plus, we have a really good relationship with Mansfield ISD. They send us one intern almost every year. We also are in contact with Arlington ISD as well, and they'll send us interns as they have in the past when absolutely necessary. The really cool thing about the internship program too, to just speak a little bit more about that, is these are also individuals that we're hoping want to come back to us and want to become members of our police department. So the Arlington intern that we had, the second one, he's the one that just joined the Marines. He's in the Marine Corps right now. He wants to come back here and work for us, and hopefully in the near future, when he comes out, gets out of his commitment, he'll actually look us up in the end and really try to take advantage of that opportunity. So that's kind of what we're building. We're building potential future applicants as well, in addition to getting us out there to work with some of these other organizations in high schools and in higher education. I want to talk more about the YouTube channel. That's something that we started this past year, and the intent is to focus on trying to give out crime prevention information, videos on how not to be victimized, and the goal is going to be to at least have one video per month. If we can have a couple more, that'd be better, but we have only one community engagement officer, and he's kept very, very busy. So, he'll do his best to make sure we get at least one video out per month, but it also needs to be a quality video. That's really important to us. So a lot of people wouldn't necessarily say that hiring and promotions is a major accomplishment, but if I can share a few facts and figures with you, 80% of the police departments in the country have less than 50 officers. And that's a stat that a lot of people don't realize, that the majority of police departments in the country are made up by small agencies like ours. And within the small agencies, you have a lot of turnover typically. You'll have people that'll float from one department to another, just make maybe a few extra bucks. Or maybe they just like, there's some other opportunity in that agency. Sometimes they will go to the larger agencies when that opportunity presents itself. But the research has shown that, and this is according to a report from the International Chiefs of Police, that they typically will swap from one department to another department, kind of within the same number of officers. Also, there's over 81,000 police officers or law enforcement officers in the state of Texas alone. That's a lot of positions that are being recruited, being hired, and have a lot of competition for in terms of people that we're trying to attract to our agency. So that's why retention is so incredibly important, and we focus a lot on that. 78% of the agencies reported having difficulty recruiting just qualified applicants, and 65 of the agencies that were surveyed reporting having too few applicants applying to be police officers. So we were actually fully staffed for about 4 months last year. We have one opening right now, and I think as I previously mentioned, we have 2 quality applicants for that. We don't have a lot of turnover. That's why we only have a picture of one person being hired in 2024, and that's Officer Button. He's the only person that we had to hire, and that brought us to, he actually came in, and then we're at full staff, and then one of our officers resigned for personal reasons. But that's really how it's been going for us. I think that a lot of the things that we do, the culture that we have in the police department, the opportunities that we create for the officers, I can go on and on about this. I used to be the recruiting personnel supervisor at the City of Arlington Police Department, and so the strategies of recruitment are numerous. But I think that what we do here works, the culture that we have here works, and the culture that we are trying to continue to maintain is obviously working, because we have very little turnover, and I'm very proud of the officers for that. We also did promote during this time 2 individuals, Sergeant Scott and Corporal Tawny Valentine. So we have some movement within the agency as well, and that's always helpful in terms of people that are looking for leadership positions. Here we go. Here's the numbers. We had a 17% drop, almost an 18% drop in calls for service. And this is significant because I'll have to try to explain this and hopefully it'll make sense. But your calls for service are kind of one of the gauges on reported crimes and so forth. There's a direct causation, calls for service and crime. Committed time as a result also dropped 5.11 minutes there. However, if you notice the correlation, or you can call it causation if you want to do that, 39.2% increase in traffic enforcement. These are just stops. This is just stops of cars. What that does, it creates more visibility, it creates more engagement, more contacts out in the community. There's a theory called the invisible hand of law enforcement. It's an old theory, and the premise behind it is, when we really don't know how many people are impacted that would have maybe possibly committed a crime, but they didn't because they saw some sign of law enforcement in the immediate vicinity or in the area. So that's why traffic enforcement is really important, and continued traffic enforcement for visibility purposes is important. Traffic violations also went up. Now, these are stats from from Mansfield Dispatch Services, and they could be a little bit off from our court reporting, but I think they're relatively pretty accurate. I doubt we made a mistake of over 900 citations that were issued. Another very big important aspect of decreasing calls for service and crime is our business checks. And what this is the officers actually getting out of the patrol cars, mostly during the night hours, and checking on businesses, rattling doors, checking windows, checking perimeters, being visible. Again, getting out of the car, not just parked on the street somewhere, but actually getting out of the car and checking on our businesses here in town. So also another way that we can promote business in the community is that we have a vested interest in trying to help you by trying to check your business periodically throughout our shifts. And we track all of that. Our crime statistics, you can't see this at all very well, so I'll just go to the next slide. So as I described in my last presentations in the last 2 years, these offenses that you see on the left-hand side are these are the report card offenses for any major city or any city law enforcement agency. And they have several subcategories, okay? So there's like theft, and it's got different levels of theft and so forth. But this focuses on what used to be called Part 1 UCR crimes. And this is your report card on how well you're doing to address the impact of these type of offenses will impact your community substantially. If you have a high number of homicides, then obviously that's going to be an issue in the community. If your car's getting stolen all over the place, that's another issue in the community. But what you're seeing here, you see for the third year in a row, a continued decrease in crime, which correlates with the decreases in calls for service. So what I'm ultimately saying is you have a very effective and efficient police department right now that is on point. We're ahead of the curve in a lot of different areas. A lot of the training and a lot of the geographic responsibilities that we have, that's what leads to these decreases in crime. This is the reason we have geographic and community-based policing. This is what the result should be. We should see continued decreases in crime year after year. Now, at some point, it will plateau. We don't know what that is yet. And, of course, as more people move into the community, we're going to have more calls for service, hypothetically, and we should also see increases in crime. So it's going to ebb and flow as population increases, but the fact that we've had some population increase in the city, we've had lower incidences of people calling to report offenses, and then we have, again, 62 fewer offenses in this on this report card is telling me that we're, number one, the proactive actions that the police officers are taking on a regular, consistent basis are working. Community partnerships and engagement is working. Involvement by people in our community and community leaders is working. And all of that combined with, code enforcement, community development, helping us clean up areas. One of the CPTED principles is even just restriping streets. Those kind of things make an impact on crime. So all the things that all the other departments are doing, the library having events to keep kids busy instead of going out there and vandalizing and doing other things, all of that does also play a factor in how we're reducing crime holistically. And that's the whole idea. The whole idea is that we're working together. It's not just the police department, it's every department involved in the city that has a vested interest in this. So this is a celebration for the city of Kennedale, not just the police department, in my opinion. Kind of going hand in hand with that, in order to have good police service, you have to have good police training. We will continue our training efforts. We do a lot of training at the Kennedale Police Department. That is also something that helps build the culture. It also helps with retention. If you talk to people that are interested in law enforcement, they want to work for an agency where they feel like they're well trained. They want to work at an agency where their investment is being made back into the individual. And a lot of the comments that I get from meeting with the officers is they really appreciate all the extra training and resources that we put into them. There's a certain amount of intrinsic value with that in the police world. Nobody leaves necessarily. Well, I'll take that back. There are people, but generally speaking, people don't leave because of salary. They leave because of culture, and they leave because of the way that they're treated and/or the way that they are made to feel appreciated. And training people is part of that. It gives us an opportunity to come together, to work together, to learn together, and they feel more that teamwork environment when we have these training sessions together. So as you see, our training hours went up by 12% for the department over last year, and our training hours per employee also went up 14%, or 12% and 14%, I'm sorry. We still have the monthly training target of 4 hours per officer per month. And so that's kind of the driving force, is at the very minimum we'll have, and that could be some online training, but it also can be firearms, and it could be defensive tactics, could be de-escalation. There's a number of different things that we can train on and have 4-hour block increments. So what's next and what's going on for 2025? We've been wanting to put on or have a Citizens on Patrol program. Matter of fact, we applied for a grant for a vehicle last year. It didn't go through. But that's one of the future goals that we have. Our drone program, we want to expand that because we want to try to keep from having to call people in, and the more people that we have trained on the drones, easier resource that's there when it's needed, and we're not having to call people in on overtime. I'm part of the Texas Police Chiefs Law Enforcement Legislative Committee. And one of the things we've been discussing and looking at, and it's out there in the public, and it hasn't been finalized, there's still some discussion on it, is House Bill 33. House Bill 33 is going to require us, more than likely, I see that I believe most of it will pass. And so do a lot of my colleagues. We believe it's going to pass, at least the majority of it. And so there's additional elements that we're going to be responsible for training purposes. But we've already been doing that, because this is some of the things that they're talking about in House Bill 33, we've already been working on here in the Kennedale Police Department, which includes what we call integrated response with the fire department. That's part of House Bill 33. If it passes, it'll still be in that. But we've already been doing that with the fire department. We've sent 2 of their firefighters to the instructor school, and we've been trying to already coordinate that because we learned from the Allen incident to be prepared and work with the fire department. So another provision in there is supplying officers with tactical rated gear. We've already done that. We got a grant for rifle vests and helmets. We purchased helmets for them. So our officers are pretty much geared up and ready to go for that. For the most part, we probably need some more rifles, but that's another story. We will continue to always seek out additional supervisor training and development. Good supervisors typically bring up good troops. So they mentor and manage better if they have the tools in their tool belt. We have been wanting to do a Citizens Police Academy, like the fire chief said, also with an alumni association to help maybe supplement our Citizens on Patrol. My experience working at other agencies is your alumni people are usually the ones that are the most active and volunteer to go to the Citizens on Patrol program. I want to be number 1 for National Night Out. Number 2 is good, but 1 is the best. So, and even if we reach number 1, we're going to continue to try to stay number 1. So we want to be the best. We want to be number 1 in both categories, national and state. We're going to continue to explore accreditations. Again, if I'm permitted to, I will continue to participate as a member of the legislative committee, and I'll continue to serve as a board member for the Tri-County Auto Theft Task Force, which we get a lot of benefit out of that. So I think that's a good idea for us to continue to participate in and be a partner with the rest of the cities involved in that program as well. And that's it. I was racing through it this time. Got too many side eyes last time.
Thank you, Chief Holguin. Does anybody have anything? Otherwise, maybe we take a break.
I'll just make it real quick, Mr. Mayor. I don't have any questions, Chief, but when I look at your numbers for the last 3 years, you've been Chief for 3 years now, 4? 3?
No, since interim January of 22.
22, yeah. So what I see is your vision that you had started off 3 years ago, coming to fruition. And I'll tell you, I get more compliments about the police department, especially the last 2 years since you've hired all these rookies on, from not just general community or, good citizens like Ms. Sanders or something, but people who had a bad experience with KPD in the last decade or so. People who would not call 911 ever because of that experience. And, through you and some of us, we've encouraged that, call 911, and people have interacted with it. And I can't tell you, at least a couple times a month, I get compliments on your staff. I also wanted to compliment your sergeants. I think we have the best sergeants in the world. particularly Sergeant Scott. I think his idea on how he handled the homeless situation was innovative and effective. I think, I don't know where he came up with that, but that was the best idea. And then, of course, you and Eric, we see you in the community. I've seen you pull people over, but I get compliments from your colleagues out there in DFW, your other chiefs out there, on how amazing chief that we have and how amazing staff. So I just wanted to relay that to you. I think when I look at the numbers, I see your vision, coming to fruition.
Oh, thank you, sir.
It's 8:06. Let's take a quick break. Thank you, Chief Holguin. All right, it is 8:14. We're going to go ahead and get started. And next is our 2024 City of Kennedale City Secretary and Human Resources Department Annual Report.
There we go. I think we were turned off. In the interest of time, we're going to go really, really quick. But if you have any questions, let me know. First things first, I've only been here since May of last year. I know it feels like a really long time, but it's not. But we have accomplished a lot this past year. But this is the number one question that I get asked by people that call every day is, what is a city secretary? What do you do? The city secretary is the only position that's required by state law. Once the city incorporates, you have to have a city secretary. Kennedale's charter dictates that we have a city secretary, a city manager, and a city attorney as well. I am an appointed official of the city of Kennedale. I'm appointed by you guys, but you can only appoint me on the recommendation of the city manager. So it's kind of a double-edged sword there. I'm responsible for ensuring transparent government, accessible records, overseeing elections. I manage the official records, which sometimes gets confused with public information, but they are two separate functions. And I maintain Kennedale's history and legal integrity as much as I possibly can as an official. The city secretary's objectives are to uphold the public trust in Kennedale's local government. I think everybody can just see over the past, I would say 8 to 10 years, that's kind of gotten more and more difficult on social media. Get a lot of information that's out there that we kind of have to redirect and get the right information out, the correct information, legal information out. We utilize management practices to stay abreast of the laws. That's done through networking. A lot of that is through my Texas Municipal Clerks Association, which I serve as a trustee. And we maintain our educations. We have to recertify every 5 years through the state. And it is a grueling schedule sometimes. We try to our best to improve citizen interaction with our local government, and we do that by providing factual information as timely as possible. Legislative-related duties, you guys probably know these, you see them, but it's just a function of my everyday life as a city secretary, agendas, public information, maintaining your records, all of that good stuff. City secretary by the numbers. Unfortunately, because I wasn't here last year and there wasn't a city secretary in place, I don't really have a lot to work with. So this is just what I've done since I've been here, with the exception of the public records information. I was able to pull all of those. We did 240 last year and it was a 10% increase. That record, that's going to go up this year. We've been inundated with public information requests. Public meetings attended. I kind of wanted to draw your attention to the 57 in-session hours. That's what I've done since May. So the people standing behind me or sitting behind me basically double it. It's there at every meeting I'm at, basically. So you're looking at 100 hours above and beyond your regular everyday work. Of course, we attest the certified documents of ordinances, resolutions, proclamations, all that good stuff. This is what was accomplished by City Secretary this year. I did my recertification that I said we did at the state level. I have to redo that every 5 years. I attained my Master Municipal Clerk designation, which I'm going to brag on myself for a second. Super proud of. I was 49th in Texas to do that, so that's a big deal. It's a huge accomplishment for me. I attended TABC training. We did DOJ rulings on disabilities. We trained other departments on how to do the lovely computer that's not working correctly right now. And we've also trained with our civic clerk agenda management software. So because of my hire date, I started the Monday after the general election, so I did not get to oversee the May general election last year. So I kind of came in, I was here 30 minutes and found out we had a runoff election. So I did oversee that, which included, certificate of elections, notices of those elections, ballot approval, and issuing oaths and statements of office. 2025 general election is here. A lot of people don't realize when you actually start having to comply with those rules and laws. It starts a year before. We have to do website compliance a year before the date of the election. And you start posting your notices and calling your elections in December. So all of that work starts probably early October, mid-November. When you guys are approving the budgets, we're starting election already. This is just a slide of what an overview of my office did this year. We were able to present 2 different conferences at TML this year, which was a conference on the overview of election services and contracts and ethical leadership. In my office, we've done the agenda formatting changes, which you guys have seen. I think you're kind of getting used to them now. We've updated some public information data sheets so that those get out to our public quicker, and we've updated ordinance and resolutions. Then you can kind of see some assigned duties there. Any questions on the city secretary side? I told you we were going to fly through this. Next is HR. I am only up here really as a representative of HR. All the people behind me are making an HR function right now. In September, this is when we started doing this all together. In 27 years of government, this is in June will be my 27th year. By far, this leadership staff behind me is the best I've ever working with. The knowledge, the education, the experience, and the support is amazing. And just for you guys to know that, I couldn't be doing what I'm doing right now without them here. The mission statement for Human Resources is the City of Kennedale's Human Resource Department provides guidance and assistance to all staff members within each department, which I think we do well. And our vision statement is to provide exceptional human resource service for current, former, and future employees. Of course, human resources, we maintain the recruitment and the hiring process. We do the classifications, the employment records. We retain those records. We comply with federal, state, and local employment laws. We have kind of overdone the onboarding process and exit interviewing process and the benefit administration and the training for new employees. It's not that we go out and train every single one of them. We just make sure that they get the training they need and then double check on them in about 30 to 90 days. Human resources by the number. Currently on staff, we have 73 employees. I believe we have 4 positions open. That's off the top of my head, but there's currently 73. We do 12 monthly employee socials that are headed up by our court administrator, Bertha, and the Sunshine Committee. They've done a great job with that. And Human Resources hosted 4 different mandatory trainings for our staff this year. One of those is the cybersecurity training that you guys will see pushed out to you shortly. You have to comply with that every year. There's been a couple of questions about employee retention tonight, and I just couldn't wait to show you this slide. We as in staff, presented a step plan to the council last year at the 10-1 budget. And when that was implemented, our turnover rate from October through December was 0. We had none. And that is pretty impressive. We did have one retiree this year that retired early, I believe like the 3rd of January, I think. And we've had one other employee leave. So our current employee turnover ratio right now is 2.74%. And I don't care what business you're in, that's a great, great number. We're doing good there. Human resources accomplishments. Like I said, we've only been doing this since September. So we've updated the exit interview process. We've updated the onboard process. We converted over our manual verification of I-9s to do it through E-Verify, which is instant. We put it in with the software, the numbers into the software and it pops up immediately. The second to the last bullet, I kind of wanted to draw your attention to. That one is the open enrollment with Brinson. Jonathan in finance helped with that. I couldn't have done it without him, and we actually got one of the best compliments from Brinson, that it was the easiest, most successful open enrollment they had seen from Kennedale, which says a lot. Thanks, Jonathan. That was a difficult process, especially very beginning of taking over in September. I did receive the required training from CGIS to do the new hire background checks. That's something that I didn't know that we had to have when the position became vacant, so we were able to jump on that and get that done. That's it. I told you that was going to be really quick. Do y'all have any questions? Okay. Back to y'all.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. At this time, we're going to move into our reports and announcements, and we'll start with updates from the City Council. And Councilman Glover, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor. So we attended, I think all of us attended the Rotary Club Chili Cook-Off. Thanks to the Mayor Pro Tem for cooking our pot. I thought it'd be a good idea to use bison meat, but I guess that's not really a winner in the chili world. So maybe next year we can try a different recipe there. We'll get it one year, Kim. Attended the car show this last weekend. Great turnout. I think we had more cars than we had last year. Just really fun to see that activity grow year over year. I spoke with some business owners who are interested in moving to Kennedale if they can find the right location. We've got a lot of kind of light commercial space coming online currently and in the near future. Introduced them to the CP2 consultants that the EDC hired, and those conversations are continuing. So in February, I noticed that the Fort Worth did the Cowtown Marathon, and that got me thinking. I was like, could Kennedale do something like that? Some kind of a outside activity to kind of just get some advertising. And I went and looked, and the Cooper Street YMCA is just about a quarter of a marathon away from the Kennedale YMCA. So I emailed the YMCA leadership, asked them to, that might be an idea to do a 5K or half marathon between the two as part of a Kennedale YMCA announcement or opening whenever they finally move in. They will raise that to the Wellness Cabinet meeting. So if you're on that board or part of that group, you may hear about that. That could be a cool way to kind of put Kennedale back on the YMCA map. Attended the Coffee with the Mayor and the Habitat for Humanity open house at Thrive. Shout out to them, great black coffee. Attended the P&Z meeting regarding Habitat for Humanity along with Greenmark earlier. And we had the council retreat. Shout out to Alan Sims from Cedar Hill. Cedar Hill residents, y'all are very lucky to have him as a member of your council. And that's it for me. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, sir. Councilwoman Kobeck.
Attended the retreat with everyone. That was very, I think it was a very helpful retreat. And it was eye-opening, and it was a great opportunity for all of us to communicate. Went to the car show this past weekend, which was the first time that I felt healthy enough to attend an event, so it was nice to get out and meet people. And I've spent several evenings here recently with interacting with a lot of residents about various concerns and questions and issues that they have.
Thank you, ma'am. Mayor Pro Tem Michaels.
Well, Councilman Glover talked about the chili cook-off. That was a fun event. It was great. I think it was probably one of the biggest events that the Rotaries had by far with the chilies, plus with the contestants. I also spent a whole week selling books for folk at the library. That was pretty exciting. I hope they raised their own money. I don't know what the final deal is. I attended the Kennedale Awards banquet. A lot of great employees, got a lot of great awards and stuff like that. And I think this is that we can recognize them, and this is a great event that we do. The council retreat was, a very eye-opening deal. It kind of gets us going in the right direction for the next 10 years, and hopefully that we can keep moving that way. A couple of us took a trip to the state capitol and the city of Kennedale got recognized on the floor. And I was at the car show, and that was a great event. I think we ended up with almost 100 cars out there. And another event that's coming up is hold on, bear with me, I got to pull it up. The Kennedale Historical Society on March 20th at 6:30 at the Kennedale Senior Citizens is doing a historical exploration series, and the subject matter is going to be the Texas Rangers Captain William Wright. So if you don't have nothing going on Thursday, come up. I know I'm going to be there, and I'm going to enjoy that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Gary.
I'll defer to Mr. Navarez. Go ahead, sir.
Councilman Navarez.
Okay. I'll just cover the ones that we really haven't spoke about. First of all, I attended the coffee with the mayor. And Mr. Mayor, for somebody who doesn't drink coffee or get up that early in the morning, it was a good event, so thank you for putting that on. I also had a great time at the council retreat. I thought it was really fun. I thought we really got down to the nitty-gritty, and I hope that future council will always do something like that to make sure that we carry that on. The award ceremony was amazing. Thanks for the city and city staff for putting that on. I had a great time. My wife and I had a great time that night. And then I also met with a local citizen who was looking to move his business here. Daryl and I met with him, and we connected him with another local citizen who built a building here, and now we're getting a baseball training company over there where the vet's office used to be before it burned down. So that's exciting that we get a local citizen together, and we're moving business forward here in Kennedale. I will get the numbers for the chili cook-off. I haven't been to Rotary recently because we also had our annual debate for the high school that the Rotary hosts, which was all amazing. All four of those contestants could put me to shame on public speaking. They were very good. So I'm excited to be a judge for the 8th year in a row on that, and I look forward to seeing next year's contestants for that. I also wanted to congratulate, of course, Elizabeth and her staff for putting on the car show. I can't wait to see the numbers from the cell towers and just from business in general, but it looked really, really busy, and it was a beautiful day. I also, just a quick shout out about the state capitol trip, the delegation. For somebody who is a government nerd like me and a native Texan, to hear, our representative on the floor say Kennedale and say our names was a big day for me. That's just right up my alley. It would be one of the greatest moments of my life, and that's just because I love government stuff. It's just nerding out like that. And thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. In the interest of time, you guys covered pretty much everything that I've done, but I do want to congratulate our Kennedale High School basketball team on winning the state championship, and we're going to honor them at our meeting April the 15th. So look forward to having them, and with that, I will hand it over to you, Mr. City Manager.
I'll do my best to keep it short as well. More than anything, I just want to talk about our infrastructure. I try to give it every other council meeting. We're still on track, just like it was 60 days ago. Freeze and Nichols is still roughly 30% in the engineering side of the Basin B sewer line that's going roughly from the Texas Raceway property to Interstate 20. They're still projecting late 2026 or early 27 of construction date. So we're still on schedule for that. Obviously, we have the Hillside sewer line that we're in the process, also on the engineering side, and we're almost complete with that, with a startup time, probably April, June time, of getting a contract for our bidding. As we did last month, we're still looking at New Hope, Sweeney Heights, and Eden Road to start sometime in June or July timeframe. Everything was approved with Tarrant County Commissioners meeting, so we're good to go for that. The water tower or the above storage for 750,000 gallon, we're still projected to be able to move forward and have that completed roughly in July. That's the short list for now. A lot going on.
Thank you, sir. Financial reports for the city and the EDC. There he is.
Good evening. I'm going to primarily focus on just comparisons between this year, the current year, and our current month, and where we're at the same point last year. So the highlight through the end of February, that's 41.7% through the year. Property tax revenues, you see we're just under $6 million. That's 96% of the total budget. The prior year, we were at 96.2% of budget at the same time, so on the same pace there. Sales tax revenues, 25.1% to budget. Last year, we were at 26.8, so we're still pretty close there. On our expenditures in the general fund, you see we're at a little bit over 4.8 million, 37.3%. Last year at this time, we were at 37.8%, so tracking almost in parallel in that aspect. Water sewer fund, the water service sales at almost 29.1, and the sewer at 34.99%. Again, those are a month behind. You can see our expenditures are at 58.2% of total budget. All three of those percentages are as expected. You can see the stormwater fund, where we're at there. The EDC, our sales tax revenue, again, that runs in parallel with the city as a whole. We just split those sales tax between the two. So we're tracking as expected. Our rental fees at 47.8, that's a little bit ahead of pace, but that's as expected. There's some timing issues that flip those percentages ahead and behind slightly each month. With our EDC town center, the shopping center expenses, 16.1% this year. Last year was at 16% even. So we're pacing exactly where we were expected going forward. Do you have any questions?
Guess not.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now we're going to move to our consent agenda. Does anybody have anything they want to pull? Then I will entertain a motion.
I will make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? And for the record, all opposed with the like sign. Madam Secretary, the motion passes unanimously. So at this point, I'm going to ask for a motion to move into executive session pursuant to Section 551.087 to discuss or deliberate regarding commercial or financial information that the governmental body has received from a business prospect that the governmental body seeks to have locate, stay, or expand in or near the territory of the governmental body, and with which the governmental body is conducting economic development negotiations, and pursuant to Section 551.074, personnel matters, certain deliberations about officers and employees of the governmental body to be held in executive session. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we move into executive session pursuant to Section 551.087 and pursuant to Section 551.074, and I'm not reading the rest of it.
Do we have a second?
I will second it.
All in favor? And for the record, all opposed with a like sign. Madam Secretary, the motion passes unanimously. We are moving into executive session at 8:37 p.m. All right, it is 8:13. We are going to reconvene back into regular session. And based on recommendation from executive session, it's recommended that we remove Mr. Kevin Woe from the Planning and Zoning Commission. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, just one point. It's actually 9:13. Sorry, that clock's still off, so just
9:13. Again, sorry. Yes, it's 9:14, excuse me. Reconvening into regular session at 9:14 PM. Sorry.
And I will make the motion in question.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? And for the record, all opposed with a like sign. Madam Secretary, the motion passes unanimously. And time for everybody's favorite motion.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second.
It is 9:14 PM and the meeting is adjourned.